Welcome back to the 4th episode of Milkhouse. How's everybody doing?
I am doing wonderful.
I am not so good because it is March Madness, and yesterday my bracket got completely busted.
Madness.
It was like 10 o'clock at night, and my main team, I picked to win the whole thing, lost.
Whoops.
After a beautiful weekend of a lot of wins, Gonzaga let me down.
Isn't that how it always goes? You know,
It
like,
is.
oh, I got it going on. Next thing, life dream
Yeah,
shattered.
I was very impressed how I did, and then that happened. So
I'm sorry
not
to hear
as good as I could have been. Thank you. So
Well, I'm doing good now that I'm back here and recording. It's always fun to meet up with you guys and chat. So
Yeah, we got your remote
I'm
again,
good.
but you look good on the big screen.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, yes. Kyle, how are you?
I am Jim Dandy.
Jim Dandy.
Yeah. Could be any better, I guess. I mean, I could be it, but I don't think so.
You know, it's a Sunday when we're recording today. It's been a good day.
It's a good day, you know. Yeah.
It's a good day. A little rainy. It's good.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Wanted to
It's
rain
good.
today. My cat couldn't decide if he wants to go in or out. He's like, I want in and out at the same time. So I cut him in half and threw him out. No kidding.
Clever girl.
very good.
Yeah.
How about you? How was your day?
Cut down 2 trees. Well, cut down 2 yesterday. I've been sawing them up and splitting them. So I'm good.
Lumberjack.
Oh,
I'm a
man, you get some good
lumberjack.
firewood going, boy.
Yeah, I need to get a more powerful saw though. Mine is good. It's a steel, but it's just not. It's not what I need. I need something stronger.
Yeah, you can't use one of those carvers that you use to cook fish.
No,
No,
it doesn't work. Doesn't work well. But it's been a good day. I'm glad to be here with you guys. Excited to talk again.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So you have a game
Yeah,
for us,
same,
right?
Same game.
Same game. The
Little trivia.
okay.
This is going to be a 2-part question, like the last one was. I feel very confident you all will get this. If not, I don't know that we'll be friends. But are you ready?
I guess so.
All right, here we go. In 1997, who showed us how to get jiggy with it?
Will Smith.
Will Smith.
Good job. Yep.
Prince of Bel-Air.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so the second part of that question is, what was the name of the album the song appeared on?
Name of the
Oh.
album the song appeared on?
Yep.
Wow.
Wild Wild West.
No.
Oh, that was a pretty good guess.
That was a really good guess.
That was a couple years later,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
I would have
Yeah.
to say I don't know.
Oh, it wasn't
No.
for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, was it?
No.
Getting jiggy with it. Why is that evading me right now?
It's
don't
not Men
know.
in Black.
Mm-mm.
No, that's Men in Black. There's a song with Men
I
in
didn't know if that was in it.
Here come the men. Yeah, never mind. I'm not gonna do that.
Final guesses?
But we don't have an audience. Can we
Yeah.
phone a
Well,
friend?
Jorge's
Yeah.
the movie buff.
Yeah.
He's also
Wait,
got
is
a
this-
laptop and
Yeah.
Wait, is this was it for a movie?
I mean, it's been in.
He said that she
several
said the name of the
movies.
album, right?
Yeah.
Of Get Jiggy With It, the song.
hmm
Was in a
No.
okay.
What was the name of the album the song appeared on?
Okay.
So it's been a while.
yeah.
I'm sure someone listening to this episode is screaming the
Probably.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
but-
sure I'm
Dude,
sure
people
somebody's like
90s
having
frog.
conniption.
I mean, I know the answer. But
Okay.
you're holding
Yeah.
all the cards.
I knew,
I
but
wonder.
but I knew it before.
Oh,
That's why I said I hope you all get this.
so you were cheating.
Not really. I don't have
No,
to.
she's the one
I'm the
reading it.
reader.
I'm waving the white
You
flag.
hold-
Oh, okay. Big Willie style.
Oh my
Okay, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have.
that was repressed somewhere.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely repressed. Super repressed. Like
was-
come
I know
for
a few Will Smith songs, but I was not a really big Will Smith fan. Music
like
wise,
Fresh Prince of
movie
Bel-Air.
wise,
Okay.
definitely.
I was gonna say just in general. But you're
I
just
know,
No, just
Will Smith.
no, movie wise, definitely. He's had a lot of gems in his film career.
Yep.
Are we going for another question, or is that the only
Oh,
one?
yeah.
Nope, that's it.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
One question. So
One and done.
this episode would be part 2 of conspiracy theories.
Mm.
So before we get into that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Giza pyramids, or the Giza, however you
Giza.
pronounce it. Probably Giza. So does anybody know anything about what happened the past couple days?
My hand does. It's up if no one can see this in the audience. My hand is raised.
Nope.
Kyle,
I'm out of the loop.
out
Me
of the loop.
too.
Okay, so from the the Giza pyramids are one of the world wonders, as well as all the other pyramids. They're huge. Nobody knows how they're built. There's lots of theories, but apparently, using advanced radar and satellite imaging, they found these what look like screws, like pillars underneath the pyramids. Now, according to an article out of the New York Post, let's see, they were
Oh,
6,500 feet across and 2,000 feet below ground. Now, I think
Jeez.
whether these pillars are there to generate power or they're just another, essentially living space inside the pyramid. The question is, how did they have that kind of technology then? That's the conspiracy around. Like, are we missing something in history?
it's pretty easy to know where they got the knowledge.
Well, we have our theories, yes. I think they got help, right?
Oh, yeah. It's like sitting there saying, oh, yeah, definitely got help. I mean, you ain't going to wake up tomorrow. Hey, I got this idea, guys. Know exactly what to do, hands down.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your thought process on that? Because I could suggest something, but I don't know.
Well,
Again,
let's-
I don't know enough to say something, and it's gonna sound
Well,
completely.
that's why it's called a theory.
Well,
Because
yeah, but I mean, the pyramids have been around for a long,
For a
long,
long
long
time.
time.
well,
So
it's a world wonder. So, what are you suggesting?
what I'm suggesting is, again, we're not gonna want to take the wonder away from our wonders of the world. And so obviously we want to believe that there's been no impact with structures after all these years. But I would think at some point it would need some renovation and repairs to keep it standing.
yeah, we're going to definitely have
So
to call
it's
Kirby Risk.
possible
Yeah, I
that
don't
they
know.
were just doing repair. I mean, it doesn't sound that crazy to me.
No, but the fact that it's now, I know
That's
at
why
the end
I'm
of
How to
asking.
repair it.
the end of the article, there's a quote from the article. It said, the claim of using radar inside the pyramid is false, and the techniques employed are neither scientifically approved nor validated. So I said,
Did
he
I-
told the National. So, I mean, we don't know if this is fake news or real.
Mhm.
It could be real. If it is, it's very interesting. I think Kyle and I are on the same page with the Nephilim helping back in the day.
Well, see, here's my thing is I seen the picture. What they wanted to do was an AI rendering. And of course, you can't, I seen the ground penetrating radar, what they had. It just looks like, red and white. I mean, you can see kind of some sort of cylindrical shape. You can't really tell if there's any, which looks like, if I had to be like a moonshine or something, it looks like, like a worm going around it or whatever.
Like a screw.
Yeah, I would call it more of like a coil. Like, it reminds
Yeah.
me of like if you were trying to generate electricity or hold electricity or, some way to store it.
Mhm.
It could be a battery. I mean, but it definitely has something to do with holding protons and neutrons because those are what we all derive from, protons, neutrons, electrons, I should say. Sorry, not neutrons, but yeah, I mean, they are there, neutrons, protons, like me personally, I think there's more to it, but for it to be what it said, it was a kilometer deep or 3, was it 3 kilometers?
Oh, I don't know.
I know, I thought it was like,
They just had 6,500 feet across and 2,000 feet below ground. This is below the pyramid. The
6,500
pyramids.
feet wide. That's a
That's
mile. I didn't think I thought there was 8 of them, right?
maybe, maybe that's the entire stretch.
Okay, I was
the
gonna say I didn't
pyramids,
think
but-
that those
But
cylinders
regardless,
were
still
that.
2,000 feet below ground.
Yeah, yeah.
How
Well,
on earth could they dig that?
well, you wouldn't have dug it. It would have already been if it would have been covered in a flood.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of this stuff, they talk about the Mayans, right? All the temples and such they have in the past. That could have been pre flood to begin with. So when
Mhm.
people find it, it wasn't
Mhm.
post flood. It just dried up.
Well, I mean, what is it? It says it's about something different. If I can find it, I'll kind of come back to it here.
Regarding the pyramids
Yeah, but more along the lines of the
in Egypt,
okay,
or
it says
just-
God promises Abraham land from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates. Okay, kind of
Mhm.
leads into something
Yes.
I have going on. What my conspiracy theory is, but
oh,
you know what I'm saying? The Euphrates, everyone sits there and thinks that the Euphrates River is in Syria, West Africa, in the Middle East, basically. It's good, like Syria, Iraq, up in there. But that really doesn't make sense much because in the Bible, and there's the Garden of Eden or whatever you want to call it, Mount Zion. That's 4 rivers that come and meet together, right? It would be the
Tigris and Euphrates.
you all know it's Tigris, Euphrates. Yeah. So the 4 rivers that flow in. All right, and then at the center of it, there's supposed to be God's mountain or whatever. If you guys ever seen Mercator's map, ever
Mhm.
seen that before? All right. Well, it was 1596. 1569. Sorry. Map was made of Mercator. Basically, it was what showed what they call. You ever heard what Rupus Nigra? You ever heard of that term?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Is it Latin?
Yes. It stands for Black Rock. All right.
Oh, isn't
Right.
that a
Well,
coincidence?
and at this map, okay, and I have it. It shows 4 rivers coming in from each side, and this was 1560. This is 1600. This is before Google and everything else like that. All right. Well, the Euphrates River is the southernmost river. All right. So that would mean if it was from Egypt all the way up to Euphrates River, that would mean that Israel would be extremely huge if it was in Africa where it is right now, or I should say Africa, but Middle East, next to Afghanistan, all that. All right. So do you really think Israel's that big, or do you think Israel's somewhere else? All right. Now, my point is, the Euphrates River, right, is supposed to dry up in times. Okay, this be one of the signals of where the angels refuge. But if people are going around thinking that the Euphrates River is in Africa and all that other stuff, and we just heard a couple. Euphrates River drying up. Well, you don't know that because you
Mhm.
don't know what the Euphrates. You can't go up by what Google tells you Euphrates River is, because Google was invented thousands of years after what the Euphrates River was established at and where it was established. It was
Mhm.
in the center. So that's my biggest conspiracy, is not just the guys. It kind of correlates into both, because you had the Nile River in there. We all know that Book of Moses and everything else like that. It's supposed to be that, wasn't the Nile that uh
Yes.
it was the blood.
Yes, it
Yeah, the
was. Yeah.
blood turned blood,
Mhm.
right? Well, I'm just saying, yeah, all these location matters, but like I said, and with being 1,000 feet, 2,000, wait, no, more than 1,000 feet, couple miles down, something
Mhm.
had to come in there and at a lot of force, because you're not going to be able to move that much dirt and pile up something and level over an entire landmass. And there's no
Wouldn't think
way
so. No.
you couldn't. There's no, you don't have that ability to level and
No.
like, because I'm pretty sure if you go around the guys and all that, it's not like it's hilly. It's flat, basically. Besides, maybe some sand dunes and stuff like that, it's relatively flat. So
I do have a article here from newsaddicts.com. Title is Scientists Say They've Discovered Vast City Underneath Egypt's Giza Pyramids. And it goes off and it says, a groundbreaking discovery beneath the Egyptian pyramids has taken the world by storm. Researchers from Italy and Scotland claim to have uncovered a vast underground city which stretches more than 6,500 feet directly underneath the pyramids of Giza,
that
making them 10 times larger than the pyramids themselves. The bombshell claim, which many experts claim to have already debunked, comes from a study that used radar pulses to create high resolution images deep into the ground beneath the structures, the same way sonar radar is used to map the depths of the ocean. The paper, which has not been peer reviewed by independent experts, found 8 vertical cylinder shaped structures extending more than 2,100 feet below the pyramid and more unknown structures 4,000 feet deeper. A press release described the findings as groundbreaking and, if true, could rewrite the history of ancient Egypt. However, independent experts have raised serious concerns about the study. Professor Lawrence Conyers, a radar expert at the University of Denver who focuses on archaeology, told he said that it's not possible for the technology to penetrate that deeply into the ground, making the idea of an underground city a huge exaggeration.
mm,
Professor Conyers said it is conceivable that there are small structures, such as shafts and chambers, beneath the pyramids that existed before they were built because the site was special to ancient people. He highlighted how the Mayans and other people in ancient Mesoamerica often built pyramids on top of the entrances of caves and caverns that had ceremonial meaning to them. The work by Corrado Malanga from Italy's
Nice.
University of Pisa and Filippo Biondi with the University of Strathclyde in Scotland has only been released during an in-person briefing in Italy this week and is yet to be published in a scientific journal where it would need to be analyzed by independent experts. Despite this skepticism, Professor Conyers added that the only way to prove the discoveries to be true would be targeted excavations.
Which they're never going to do that. They're not going to start digging. I wouldn't believe they would.
And of course, with something like that, I would expect there to be some kind of like, hesitance or
Oh yeah.
Okay, so which brings me to my next point here is since we're on the subject, so the fact that they say the Euphrates rivers in Iraq, Syria, and all that. Also, so if you ever type into Google like what is Mount Zion, or Whistle's put and where is Mount Zion, right? You guys know what Mount Zion is, right, in the Bible?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, on Google, it says Mount Zion is a hill located in Jerusalem, situated just outside the walls of the old city to south and near the Zion Gate. It basically says it's a 2,500-foot hill in Israel.
Oh.
All right. 2,500-foot hills, not a very big hill, like that's not very significant to me, I mean, just so we're clear that it's not.
Well, I wouldn't call that a hill. I'd call it a mountain. I mean, okay, for
2,500
example, in Tennessee, I climbed one of the trails there, and I think it was, I don't know.
Yeah, but
I don't want to say it. Like, it wasn't much more than that, but I mean, it took several hours to get to the top.
Well, whenever they make that map in Mercator, they said that map had a 33 mile wide black magnetic mountain. Think about that, right? I mean, 33. That's the biggest mountain you've ever heard of. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know how tall. All right, but 33 miles wide. I mean, that's literally at the center, and that's supposed to be where the Garden of Eden is. But you can't go to the North Pole so I'm just saying, Google lies to you. They can't even tell you what Mount Zion is. They just sit there and say, "Hey, this in Israel."
Does it say what hemisphere it's in?
What?
What hemisphere?
They didn't. I don't think they talk about what you talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do want to point out you can go to the North Pole. It's in Alaska. Just so we're on the same page.
The North Pole.
Mm-hmm. Look it up.
You cannot go to the North Pole. They don't allow you to go to the North Pole.
That's weird because I was just there about 6 years ago.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Boom, roasted.
No, I guarantee you. Can you 100%?
Please look it up that there's a North Pole in Alaska.
North Pole in Alaska, but in Alaska is not.
I know, Kyle. My gosh, easily rattled over there.
You know it.
She's talking about
North Pole,
the
Alaska.
city.
Yeah, duh.
I hate you.
It's known for its Christmas themed attractions.
Oh my God.
I love it.
I went to North Pole.
There's a
set you up,
reindeer.
man.
There's a reindeer farm. The street lights.
Yeah, but as soon as she said Alaska, I'm like, that's not the North Pole, but whatever. Like, whatever.
And yet you
I
were
love you
gonna let
too.
me have it. You were like, no, we're gonna make her look like a fool.
She has a great poker face.
He's like, I went there last year. Yeah, leave them. We're never playing poker. You have just shunned yourself from that table.
So,
it's too easy.
interesting article nonetheless. So, down to the conspiracies. All
Yeah.
right. Who wants to go first?
just
Do you want to go,
went.
ladies? Oh, so that was part of
That
yours.
was. I had to do it because it just correlated with each other so well. I'm sorry.
Okay. Very cool.
I kind of just threw it in there out of the blue,
Okay.
which is always good and bad.
Well, I know Jorge's conspiracy. So I want him to go last because I think it's pretty juicy.
It's the whole sharing of information.
Hey, man.
You two.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
I'm hating both right now.
Wait, what's Jorge's on the line with? Is yours more serious?
Mine definitely steps more into the same sphere of what James talked about last episode.
We're taking turn down Dark Avenue.
Ooh, I mean, and mine's just more
glad the lights are
fun
on.
because I
Mine's
believe
more
it.
fun
Yes,
too.
we need
Oh,
to-
you believe?
Yeah,
yours?
we need.
I mean, yeah,
Okay.
I believe the
I
pigeons.
want to hear the fun.
I believe. believe what I have today, but I mean, it's
Okay, mine's
we could do
lighthearted too.
series.
I'll go, and then you go, and then Jorge's.
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll end it with a really dark conspiracy.
Yes.
So I know I texted you guys the other day that who was into Harry Potter, and you said you're Slytherin. That's a yes.
Only
Kyle?
because I can't be the Sorting Hat. I need that to be very clear. If I could just sit around and judge people, which I do, but
you know
for a
you're a
job.
Slytherin because you wore
That is
you
brutal.
took the Sorting Hat
Yeah,
test.
I was a Slytherin. Yeah.
Okay. I'm a Gryffindor, so
What a shock.
yeah, what a shock on both sides.
I'm
Don't
I'm the
you
kid in the
say
background
it.
just sitting there sucking.
You never
on
got
a
your
sucker.
letter. Sorry, dude.
Embarrassing
And Jorge, you've
Is it
seen
really
just a couple.
embarrassing?
for you.
What was that, James?
Not if you don't know.
You got the Sorting Hat in here. I'll figure this out.
I think we have a little one at home, actually.
Yeah.
You guys are speaking a different language right now. Can we speak
He's
English?
not a Slytherin.
I mean, he's a muggle. So.
for sure.
Okay. And
What did
Jorge,
you ask me,
said
James?
you've seen a couple films?
I don't even know what
I have.
Okay. Like all of them or one or?
I've seen like the first couple of movies.
I heard the name.
I will say this: they're very versatile. You can play them around Christmas or Halloween.
That's true.
True.
That's a good point.
Very
That's
good.
weird. That's like
What would
so. It's
you-
like Nightmare Before Christmas.
That's awesome.
Blech.
What would you say that Jorge is if you had to guess?
Oh,
Wait.
yeah.
Mouth it first. Yeah, for sure. 1,000%.
Say it.
You say it.
You're Hufflepuff.
For sure.
Oh yes.
You got to read the description for the house. But anyways, okay.
Okay, I'll
So
pull it up later.
my conspiracy. Okay, so I'll basically be talking to the audience if we have any Harry Potter heads, and that J.K. Rowling is Reader Skeeter. Have you heard this before? Okay, so for those that don't know, in Harry Potter there is a journalist named Reader Skeeter. She works for the Daily Prophet, and she's an antagonist to Harry Potter throughout the film.
Wait, you say
and the
Daily
books.
Prophet?
Yeah,
Like the Daily Planet?
Sure, it's a paper that
like
they
Superman.
have in the
I got you.
magical
Keep
world.
going.
And basically, she writes a lot of gossip columns, a lot of smear articles. She badmouths Harry in several ways. Anyways, you kind of fast forward through the film, and she's banned from Hogwarts because she's an animagus. She listens espionage, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I still don't understand anything.
I
you're
know.
saying.
I'm mainly talking to the staff. So by the end, the theory is that her reputation is so destroyed in the magical world that she comes to the Muggle world. Now, the Muggle world is
Yes,
our
please dumb it
world.
down. Okay, Muggle
The
World.
Muggle world is a
No,
slang term
this
for
is a world.
non-magical people. It's our world, right?
Yeah, thank
And-
you. I'd like to be non-magical right now.
So I don't know, what's canon on the internet, because I've read all the books, but
There's cannons in it too.
no.
Oh.
And so, well, there might be some canons, but so in according to the statute of secrecy, this law enacted in 1692 mandates that wizards and witches conceal their existence and abilities from muggles. So the Muggle world is non-magical. They don't really know about the magical world. So anyways, this person, Reader Skeeter, just bags it up in the magical world and heads to our world. Now
Can you
she
say his
creates a
name one
new
more time. Reader Skeeter.
Rita Skeeter, yeah.
Rita Skeeter.
Rita
Oh,
Skeeter, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
And she takes up a new identity in the real world as J.K. Rowling, and she writes a fictional book called Harry Potter that nobody's going to believe, and it becomes a book bestseller, but it's actually a true story. And
I
that
believe
she's
it. 100%. Yep.
she's
sold.
writing the whole thing is true, and we don't know it.
I think that's fun.
Isn't that fun?
I
But
like
you
that
do
one.
know it
It's a good
now.
one.
It's very nice. I like
So-
it. Well, that's why it's a theory.
That's why it's a theory. You know what? It would
Good
be
point,
fun.
Jorge. Good point. I like
Hey,
what you think.
And back to the new Hufflepuff over there. Let me just,
I like
this
your
is why
name.
you're in the group. Because of your hard work, your patience, loyalty, kindness, and a strong sense of fairness.
Aw.
That's what would make you a
That sounds
Hufflepuff.
like him, doesn't it?
It does.
Hufflepuff sounds like someone's complaining all the time.
No, they would never.
No, they have
Hufflepuff.
good attitudes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Slytherin is the one you got to watch out for.
Well, see, I have no idea. So we go Hufflepuff. I'd be like, that's like if someone gets mad or huffing and puffing. I was like, I don't know.
Well,
Hufflepuff. I like the name though.
I think if
It's
Kyle
fun.
did get a letter, he'd be Ravenclaw. Maybe.
Yeah. Would
That
you like to
sounds-
hear about that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh boy, I'm not sure about this.
Okay. They're known for their intelligence,
Oh.
creativity,
Hmm.
wit, and love of learning.
You know what?
That's
You know me
Kyle.
well. You just melted my heart. That's the kindest thing anyone said to me all week.
It wasn't me. So
You just said it though. Thank
I
you.
read it out loud.
So
Saying it.
Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw. Now you got to read the definitions
Slytherin,
for Slytherin and Gryffindor.
It's known for its ambition, cunning, resourcefulness, and a strong sense of self-preservation, often prioritizing their own goals and interest. So they're a little shady, and I do love that about myself. So
Well, at least you don't have to worry about getting burnt by the sun.
yeah, it's true.
It's true.
It's true.
Plenty.
So,
Oh wait, we didn't read yours.
Oh,
Gryffindor.
Griffin.
That's me.
Insane.
That's what they told me. I took the sorting hat test.
I'm thinking of World of Warcraft when you say Griffin. I picture you riding in.
Well, it's the same creature. Yeah.
Okay. Values, courage, bravery, and a strong sense of justice.
I told you, man.
Daring, bold, and adventurous. Yes. Feels right.
You
Feels
are
right for
you're
everyone.
my hero right now.
Yeah.
Like I thought mine was good, but I'm just intelligent.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry, I'm the
Really got
best.
thrown under the bus there, I think. See what you guys think about me.
So we'll go on to Steph's conspiracy now.
I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago, believing that Michael Jackson faked his own death.
Oh,
I love it.
I like that one.
See? I love it.
Okay.
I like
So there's a guy that has appeared on many interviews.
Dave.
Dave.
Yes.
That. Okay.
Yeah.
So I
Isn't that
know.
wild?
Burn victim.
Yes. So there were. So
Yeah.
Michael Jackson had an accident for Pepsi commercial, right?
Mhm.
And he got burned pretty bad. And they think, what, Dave is him?
I think.
Because what is
Dave
Michael
is him.
Jackson's nickname? He's the master of disguise, right?
So
that's who played that in that movie. It wasn't Dana. What's his name? That movie.
it was Michael Jackson.
That was Michael Jackson the entire time.
That was before 2009, though, right? Can
Yeah,
someone look that
definitely.
up?
Dave?
That Dana
No,
Carvey
that movie, yeah. Master of Disguise.
Oh.
Turtle, 2009.
Turtle.
Yeah.
The weirdest, worst. Well, I wouldn't say worst. It's probably a terrible movie, but I just remember it for that.
Yeah, it wasn't great. But yeah, they say he died on June 25th, 2009, but I think he's still alive.
He really made
That's-
Sony mad. I mean, he bought the Beatles. Like, what was it? He told Gringo or one of them. No, he told the manager. He's like, "How much you want for the Beatles?" And like, he had his manager go get the money. Blah blah. Like, basically on the spot, bought the Beatles within a day and owned all the rights to Beatles music. I mean, he
Mhm.
made Sony so mad. It cost him so much because I'm not gonna lie. I think if he was trying to kill him, he had a good reason to try to.
Well, and I mean, he was just following in the footsteps of Elvis, who, as we all believe, I'm sure, is still alive.
He was in Home Alone, by the way.
I've heard that. I've
Elvis?
never seen that.
The
so-
first Home Alone when Kevin's mother is at the airport. I believe it's the first airport in France,
Okay.
I think. When she's trying to get tickets back to, connecting flights.
Uh-huh.
And it's a scene with John Candy's in there, but there's a guy standing behind her that looks just like look it up. He looks just like Elvis.
I'm gonna have to.
And it
Elvis
might-
and Home Alone.
Yes, I kid you not. Well,
I'll look
what's
up
your
that
take on
images.
it then? So, is Michael Jackson alive?
I think so.
Okay. How do you think he faked his own death? Because
Well, I
remember,
think-
he died from an overdose of propofol.
But that was the thing too, and I've listened to some podcasts on that as well because his doctor was there. But before they called it in, before they did anything, he had Michael's son sent to the room where he was, and they were in there for a while. So, anyways, they called the son in there, and then it was like a few minutes before they did anything with it. If it had been something serious like cardiac arrest or whatever, they would not have waited for the son to come in and do whatever. So they
So-
think it was more of like, hey, son, I'm going to leave for a while. They're going to say that I'm dead, whatever. That's not the case. And I remember when all of that went down and they kept showing the clips of Michael Jackson getting out of an ambulance, walking into the back of a hospital, completely fine. You've never watched that video?
No, I've
You've never seen that video ever?
I've watched that like a
I've-
1,000
I've- it
times. I'll
definitely-
email it to you.
It
Yeah,
was
I will-
definitely 100%.
I will post it, and I will post the
Yes.
Home Alone.
Yes.
The exact same van that he got in was the one he walked
It-
out of.
yeah,
You can
It was wild.
see
Okay,
the numbers on the video.
So, when he overdosed and died, right?
Mhm.
whatever protocol they have,
Mhm.
you think he would have called 911,
Yeah, also he
even
was
though he's in the presence of his own personal doctor.
right, or the doctor would have called. It was
Yeah.
just weird with the time lapse. And obviously there was a lot of stuff going on. I think there was money problems,
What city
a
did he?
ton of stuff.
Oh, I think it
But
was California.
Is it?
but
thought
the
so.
thought process too was he had watched Elvis do it.
Yeah.
And obviously there was that connection there, so why not?
Why not? I'm with you. I think he's alive.
I do too.
Now, Dave, who do you think Dave is? You think that's him?
I think it's Michael Jackson.
So he's
I mean,
just-
we
Eerily
could
creepy, dude.
we could
He
link
sounds just like
right.
him.
We could link that too. And I know several years ago there was another video of Paris Jackson, and it was like a selfie, and people were like, "Oh, Michael Jackson's totally in the backseat," which I don't really believe that. It didn't look like anything to me, but I mean, it's possible at this point he's dead, but I don't think so. I think it was just also weird, and he was just kind of done and wanted to live his life.
Makes
So,
sense.
Well, I
yeah.
mean, once you kind of know that the people you're surrounded by, you might just want away from, especially when you've been exposed to it at a young child, at a
Yeah,
young age. He's been in the whole
absolutely.
industry. All of them have. Like everyone, everywhere's related when it comes down to that. Politician, like Hollywood, like all of them. So.
Yeah.
I
And
could absolutely understand why he would want to fake his death, like especially because like have you guys ever heard of the stuff that he went through as a kid? I'm sure you
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah.
with his dad.
Yeah. He and his siblings had a rough childhood.
Apparently, Joe Jackson was an absolute menace
Mhm.
whenever they were like getting their career moving and everything. I had heard that that Joe Jackson would apparently like terrify Michael, and Michael Jackson, even as a kid, he would get like nauseous and he would even puke. Like he would puke just because he was just so terrified of Joe. And if all that stuff is true, then what an absolute freaking
Right.
POS right there.
Now,
Yeah.
I do have a list of conspiracies in addition to everything, but a lot of them kind of circle around his death. But
Let's hear him.
okay, so this is according to The Week. There are 5 conspiracy theories about his death. Dang, 2009. So Jackson conspiracy theorists, they're known as believers.
Mm.
They have long claimed that the singer is still alive, having faked his own death. In early 2017, investment banker David Dunn took the stand in the U.S. tax court in Los Angeles and said Jackson was on the edge of going bankrupt before his death, fueling
Right.
theories that the pop legend may simply have changed his identity in order to escape his financial problems. That's my first time hearing that one.
Yeah,
I'd never
that's
heard that one before.
yeah.
Michael Jackson definitely didn't have money issues. I mean, he bought the Beatles, and I mean, that dude knew money. That's not even close. That's like literally grasping for air.
No, I think a lot of people though have said it. If you read about it, if you watch it, they do say he, for whatever was going on in that time, he was having money issues.
Well, I'm saying if he's having money issues, it's because someone was controlling
That could
his
be.
money issues. Because like literally, that guy Michael Jackson was brilliant. Like he was not a stupid guy. So
Well, I think
I mean, you got big banks and everything, and you got
Oh, yeah.
Sony's huge. I mean,
so many interests, and even
yeah,
since a child with the Jackson 5, he was manipulated, controlled.
exactly.
So someone's probably taken a huge percentage of his
Listen,
income.
I hope Michael Jackson is alive, and if he is, I hope he's happy because I think everything that was thrown at him was complete crap.
Well, it's also very interesting too. Like his kids seem, I say fine, and I'll use that lightly, but they're just kind of doing their own thing. It seems like everything's great in their life. It doesn't feel like they're grieving or dead. And I know that's wild to say, but
Why would they grieve? Their dad is alive.
that's what I'm saying. It's just been
Well,
very
also
interesting.
they were really young whenever he died too.
They were, but it kind of feels like they've had their
Mhm.
dad there the whole time, just
get
in
it.
a different capacity.
And I'm
I'm a believer.
gonna call
believer.
on the whole Elvis Presley and the Home Alone. I'm not saying the guy doesn't look like him, but look, I'm not gonna sit there and watch Home
Hey.
Alone and be like, hey, That dude's got to be Elvis.
I'll tell you what. I'll link the
I got the picture
scene
right here.
in the description, and people can decide for themselves.
He looks more like Al from Al from Tim and
Stop showing me a picture of Elvis.
It looks like Al
Wait, let me
Borland
see.
almost.
It looks like an Elvis. Look how handsome he is. He's just got a beard.
Then Al Borland is
That-
freaking Elvis.
There's no way that does not look like Elvis at all.
Well, he's older.
Well, yeah, but you know what? You look like Elvis if that's the case. You got the black hair. You look more like Elvis than that guy. I mean, Elvis had darker hair than that guy.
What a plot twist.
Yeah.
I do have more
knew
here.
it.
Secrets
You guys
out.
are ready.
I thought it was very important.
Let's hear it.
So in July last year, I don't know when this article was written. It says Hollywood hairdresser Steve Earnhardt, who is a close friend of Jackson, claimed he had information about the star that, quote, not even the family knows, unquote. In a post on Facebook, Earnhardt wrote, a tip for the believers, the Michael Jackson believers. You heard it here first, an announcement of sorts. And in a couple of months, or latest at the end of the year, you will be receiving some very good news. It's almost unbelievable, and not even the family knows, but I do. No more news was forthcoming from Earnhardt, but believers insist Jackson must simply have decided to remain in hiding. So here's 4 more conspiracy theories about the King of Pop's death. So apparently, Paris Jackson thinks that he was murdered. So in 2017, Paris Jackson told Rolling Stone magazine that she was convinced her father had been murdered. She's quoted, all arrows point to that. It sounds like a total conspiracy theory, and it sounds like BS. But all real fans and everybody in the family knows it. It was a setup. It was BS, she said. Some online conspiracy theorists question whether she was pointing to a group such as the Illuminati. Another one is that Jackson's will wasn't signed by him. In 2012, 5 of the singer's brothers and sisters, Janet, Rebby, Randy, Tito, and Jermaine, signed a letter to the executors of Jackson's estate, John Branca and John McClain, accusing the pair of fraud, forgery, exploitation, and abuse. The letter was published on the gossip site Celeb Buzz. Jackson's siblings claimed that he was not in LA on the day his will was dated, which was 7 July of 2002, and therefore could not have signed it. They also claimed that Jackson said he despised Branca and McClain and didn't want them to have anything to do with his life. Representatives for his estate responded, "We are saddened that false and defamatory accusations grounded in stale internet conspiracy theories are now being made by certain members of Michael's family whom he chose to leave out of his will." And that's interesting because first time hearing that one.
Maybe like all you had to do in order to no one dispute your will is like leave them a minimum, like I think like $5,000 or something like that, and no one can dispute anything. Like if you have family members, something like that. I could be wrong. I heard that somewhere. I thought that rich people.
I
don't have that problem, but I'm never gonna be rich.
Never say never.
Yeah, well, I'm rich in love, guys.
Good one.
You are rich in love, indeed.
So Kyle was kind of pointing at that earlier, but it was with the Beatles. But this is what this is saying. It says LaToya Jackson has repeatedly said there was a conspiracy to kill her brother and that he knew he was going to die. He reportedly told her, "LaToya, I'm going to be murdered for my music publishing catalog and my estate." Last year, The Sun reported the existence of a note allegedly written by Jackson just weeks before his death that appears to support this theory. The note read, "They're trying to murder me." Jackson continued that he was scared about his life and that the system wants to kill me for my catalog, according to the newspaper.
I think he was just setting the trap.
And when was he quoted saying that?
June 24th, 2009.
I guess somewhere around 2009. I don't know when this whole thing was
coincidental.
published.
I mean, if I was going to fake my death and make sure there was stuff set up, so people would think I didn't run away.
Well, I mean, even the people trying to get you, you just tell them say this, and then if you're good enough, they just think you're gone. And I mean, he had enough money where he can do whatever. Like I said before, I hope he's all right. You know,
I hope so. If he is,
He's fine.
Well,
Well, I mean, apparently, you ever see the one where he beat up Tupac? I guess so. That was kind of cool.
What?
You never seen that video?
Of Michael
No, I'm not
Jackson?
saying it's a video of them fighting. No, obviously not. That'd be too cool.
But of him like breaking up a fight, I think.
No, I was saying I've seen a video of a guy. I can't remember who it was, but basically saying that Tupac disrespected Michael's niece, and Michael told him to apologize. Tupac apparently did not, and Michael thumped him and whooped him.
You know, I would imagine Michael would be a very good fighter.
I mean, I can imagine he's a lot taller than Tupac too, so it wouldn't be really hard.
Yeah,
he would use his dance.
He was. I can tell you, they say Michael was a good boxer.
Yeah,
I didn't know that either.
See his feet? I wouldn't want to fight him.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you're looking at. And
he would dance on my face.
He's punching in the face while you're looking at his feet. You're
like James, no, and I'd be just get moonwalked on as he's.
You'd just be mesmerized. Like, how does he moonwalk punch? I mean,
yeah, seriously.
That beat that.
I do want to add this for Kyle.
What?
At the time of his death,
okay,
he was estimated to be in over $500 million in debt.
Wow.
Due to his extravagant spending.
See, that's what's funny is I don't see him having $500 million in debt without someone.
Well, I mean, but you don't know him.
I know, but
he's got a bad accountant.
He could, yeah.
Well, obviously,
but it just says. I mean,
you think? Yeah. $500 million in debt.
You like to spend.
That's a lot of money.
Maybe he was a kid. Maybe he was terrible with money. But I knew if you're going to buy the Beatles, you can do something. You know, like I'm pretty sure he was set up.
I think that goes back to expensive and exaggerant spending.
Yeah, that's true.
I know I saw a documentary where it was kind of the kind where it followed him around, and he some really, ostentatious, bougie, like place that sold these statues made of gold. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. And he just went around and was like, that one, that one, that one, that one. I mean, he walked out of there spending a couple $100,000 on just statues for decor in his home.
Right.
Yeah. And I think people even described him as like a little kid going through a toy store, just picking whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
Which would make sense of his childhood. I mean, he didn't have much of one. So
yeah, he was stripped of
it.
He was absolutely stripped of his childhood for sure.
It really makes sense.
Yeah.
The last one on here is that Jackson killed himself with drugs. So it says on August 28th of 2009, the LA County coroner made an official statement classifying Jackson's death as a homicide. The coroner stated that he died from the combination of drugs in his body, including anesthetic propofol, that Jackson's personal doctor, Conrad Murray, had been giving him to treat sleep problems for 2 months prior to his death. Murray was eventually found guilty of involuntary manslaughter in 2011 and was sentenced to 2 years in jail.
Yes.
Before,
go ahead.
I thought there were many doctors he was getting drugs. He had like 10 doctors or something. He was like,
well, Murray. So this guy, Conrad Murray, is the one that I think was the more referenced person.
I thought he was on site with Michael.
Yeah, he's the one that
I think he could be a fall guy.
Well, I think it was something of that drug that kind of makes you seem like your heart stops beating.
It's a pretty heavy duty sedative,
right?
And he was misusing it for sleep aids,
right? So if it was planned, they already knew. He had been taking it for weeks or whatever. So then, if they finally did call, it would look like he was no longer alive with the effects of that medication.
I thought there was like a drug that basically, or something, where it almost reduces your heartbeat down to almost one beat per minute, enough to just basically keep your heart. And like I'm not even sure what it's called, but I could have swore I've seen it somewhere before. I'm not even saying it's that low, but it's really low to where you almost would think the person's dead, but it's just basically pumping enough blood every so often where it keeps vital functions alive and you don't lose oxygen into the brain, which, I mean, I know myself, I've clocked myself down to low for like 45 beats a minute at times. So, I mean.
Yeah, but that was probably when you were an athlete, wasn't it?
Well, no, I was just a couple years ago and I actually had a Fitbit. I'd be sleeping.
Whoa. Yeah, it's a really low resting heart rate.
Nah, it's not a bad thing, though.
You're like a turtle.
It's actually not bad to have a slow heart rate.
There is something interesting here. So It says before his trial, Murray's lawyer claimed that the singer, quote, took desperate measures, unquote, because of his deteriorating finances. However, the judge refused Murray's request for Jackson's financial records. Lawyer Howard Weitzman, representing the singer's estate, asked, "Is the theory that Michael Jackson committed suicide, took his own life? I don't think that's a salable theory." A law enforcement official told ABC News that the star was heavily addicted to the painkiller OxyContin and was injected daily with the medication along with Demerol.
Well, I know OxyContin is you can thank Purdue Pharmaceutical for that. They basically made it to where, I mean, it's heroin is what it is. It literally is exactly what it is.
It's a controlled substance.
It's 100%.
It's highly addictive.
There's doctors that wouldn't prescribe because it's like just heroin is all that they're doing. It's just opium, and they wouldn't they'd say, "Oh, it's supposed to last 12 hours." It'd work for 4, and then people will be back in pain, and that's why it caused addiction and caused huge problems in the United States. Thank you, Purdue Pharmaceutical.
Opioid epidemic, yeah.
Well, one thing I do find interesting about this is the fact that his finances were brought up during the trial. I'm not saying that really gives any merit to the theory that he had financial issues and that's why he faked his death, but I do think it's interesting how it was brought up.
Yeah, that is interesting
because
that must have been his defense attorney then.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, either way, if he was forced into life doing drugs because he was driven to the brink of insanity, I mean, we know that most people, like, I ain't condoning Kanye, but Kanye did say they got handlers, right? So, I mean, apparently everyone you see in Hollywood has a handler. Yeah, you're not really in control, and I'm not saying he did or didn't, but,
it's a different world than
we have no way of
in.
knowing because there's so much secret going on.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the stuff they're uncovering nowadays with fraud. I mean,
like Doge.
Yeah. I know that's crazy to think about the trillions and trillions of dollars that we've just wasted aimlessly because people are just so crooked, and some people are just like, "Hey, I don't think people do bad things. I don't do a bad thing. I turn my turning signal on when I turn right. I drive 55. I think everyone else does too." Yeah, apparently that's the case.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a crazy world out there. Okay, so Jorge, I think we're all ready for your second conspiracy.
My conspiracy is over black-eyed children.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Spooky.
that's actually
I need the dim
very
lights.
very dark.
Yeah.
Yes. Also known as BEK for black-eyed kids, which is what they're commonly referred to.
Yeah, I know where this is leading. Very dark.
Do you
Very
have black eyes?
No, I have brown
Okay.
eye.
Over here,
Do
they
you?
look black. No, these are a beautiful blue.
A beautiful blue.
Go ahead.
Nice.
Well, so
It's Kyle's. I can't see. Yep,
the
pretty dark
poop.
too. Makes sense.
so the most common or the most well-known story is by it's the Brian Bethel incident, which is interesting, and this was completely unintentional, but this incident took place in 1996. So Brian Bethel, he was a reporter. For who he reported for, I couldn't find it, but the incident took place in Abilene, Texas. He was in a parking lot. He had just gotten back from paying a bill, and he was sitting in his car in the parking lot when two boys, which were between the ages of 9 to 12, they came knocking on his window. One boy was a they were referred to as somewhat suave, oiled skinned, curly headed young man, and a red-headed, pale skinned, freckled young man, so he clearly had no soul.
Whoa! What?
So true. So true.
But they were wearing hooded pullovers. And so the first boy explained to Brian that the two of them had come to watch the premiere of Mortal Kombat at the movie theater, but had forgotten their money at their mom's house. They requested a ride back to their mom's house to get the money and to go back to the theater. So all the while, as the conversation ensued, so Bethel was consumed by an irrational fear. The boy tried to convince him with assurances like, "Oh, it won't take long," uh, and that they're just two little kids. They didn't have a gun or anything. And he subconsciously reached out to open his car door when suddenly, uh, he noticed that the boy had coal black eyes. And we're not just talking about the eye, like, isn't it the iris that's the actual like color of your eyes?
Yeah.
Mhm.
The iris,
Well, this
no,
is,
no, the
but
iris.
the whole entire eyeball was like
Yeah,
black. It's like looking into an abyss
So
of
no white.
blackness.
Yeah. No
No
white.
white in the eyes. Nope, just all black. So he described the eyes as the sort of eyes that one sees these days on Aliens or bargain basement vampires on late night television.
ooh.
Yeah. Soulless orbs like two great swaths of a starless night. So trying to keep his behavior normal, Bethel muttered a few excuses, pulled at the gear, and rushed away in his car. And then, as he stared at the rearview mirror, he found that the children had just vanished within seconds.
So creepy.
So Bethel's incident had allegedly taken place from 9:30 to 10 p.m. that night. It's an incident he could never forget. Bethel began sending private emails to a trusted few about his experiences, and then soon his story spread like wildfire on the internet. Thus, the personal experience of this famed journalist was soon shared by thousands of others, some legit, some fake, but enough for the BEKs to be regarded as a modern paranormal phenomenon. And this is coming from historic mysteries. So that is the most well known, but I went over to Ranker and they do have a few other stories of black eyed children encounters. This one really creeped me out. So this one takes place in the 1950s, and apparently some black-eyed kids tried to get a young man to walk them to his home. So, uh, this is one of the, I guess, earlier recorded sightings. A 16-year-old named Harold was strolling up the street to his Virginia home when he noticed a boy leaning on a nearby fence. Harold said hello, but received no response. He turned to leave. Then the mysterious boy finally spoke. I want to go to your house. You're going to walk me up to your house. That's predatory behavior, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Okay, red flag.
That's like exorcist type
Yeah.
stuff right there. It's
Yeah.
like, holy water,
Red
where are
flag.
you?
Yeah. So that was when Harold noticed the boy's eyes. They were pitch black. All of his instincts were screaming to run,
Mhm.
but he just stood there. Then, as if reading Harold's mind, the boy said, "No, don't you try to run away from me. You're going to walk me up to your house."
Ugh.
And that was enough to spring
Goosebumps.
Harold into action. He booked it out of there. He claimed he heard the child let out the scream of a bobcat, but he wasn't willing to turn around to be sure. The account goes to reveal Harold's parents actually believed him, and his father went out with his gun in hand looking for what they believed was a devil, and the black eyed child was gone. But Harold's mother demanded that he go to the local priest to be safe.
Where?
Two things that stick out to me in this one is obviously is that he heard the screaming of a bobcat. Before getting set up and everything, I actually went ahead and looked up like what that would sound like. And I'm telling you this right now, it is terrible.
It sounds like a
It is-
woman screaming.
yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds awful.
Yeah, it really does.
Um, so
Dean and
another thing that's
Manchester when you need
interesting is that I don't think it's very common to hear a story like that where the parents actually believe their kid.
Mhm.
So here's a quick question.
a lot easier. Kid don't lie.
Yeah,
Right.
kids never lie.
Yeah. I'm saying, you don't catch him in a lie. Hey, I might actually believe him.
Yeah. The encounters that these people have, are they during the nighttime? I thought you said one was at 10 p.m. or something.
So yeah, Brian Bethel's story happened from 9:30 to 10 p.m.
Okay. What about the other one? Did it give a time?
This one did not give a time, no.
Okay. So I've heard several stories across the internet about black-eyed children. A lot of them are it's interesting, the first one that there were 2, correct? Was there 1 or 2 black-eyed children?
I don't necessarily have
The first
children.
one with Brian Bethel, there was 2 of them.
Yeah, so 2. So it's interesting, there's a common thing because one of the stories I heard, there were 2 boys, and same kind of thing. They have that kind of lure. They're trying to lure someone, so they knock on this guy's door late at night, and he opens a door, and they kind of have a hood on, whatever, and they ask, "Hey, can we use your phone? Our phone died." And he's like, "Well, who you need to call?" And he kind of noticed their eyes were black, and it's kind of a red flag, obviously. And but they were really pushy about coming inside, and he kind of argued with them until finally and the same kind of thing, they vanished. And then another one was a woman walking home, and a kid came up and asked if he could, like that second one, "Hey, can I come with you? I need to, I'm scared," or whatever. And she noticed their eyes were black, and I think they're all boys, all the stories I've heard. And
Yeah, I've never heard of where there was a little girl.
yeah, and she refused, and she ran to a local, where I think she was at a bar, so ran back to the bar and stayed there until she felt safe. So it's interesting, the themes are pretty consistent. But so
Mm.
what are your thoughts? What do you think black-eyed children are? And do you believe in the conspiracy phenomenon itself?
So, from what it sounds like is to me, it sounds like it's demonic
Mhm.
because the whole premise is asking for your permission to be let in
Yep.
or for asking your permission to
They try to get
or
inside your
basically just to
house.
open yourself up. Yeah. Um and so
Trust me.
it's definitely I think it definitely relates to demonic activity just because demons can't just
Manifest
you know
nowhere.
you yeah you there has to be a cause, there has to be something that is done in order for them to claim some kind of legal authority over you or your home. And so I think that whenever they ask you to enter into the residence, it's pretty
You're given permission.
right. Yeah, you're giving yeah you're
Like a verbal consent to not only enter your
yes.
home physically, but
Well, I mean, even in the
spiritually.
Bible, there was people like I remember the Messiah. He cleansed. He brought demons out of people that
Yes.
were they were sit there and they were couldn't stay out just talking in different languages, and he goes up to them and
Yeah.
he tells them basically leave, and then of course, be him being God in human form. He had that power, but they were scared of him. But just because he was able to do that, see him, they ran. But that right there, if that's true in the Bible, that just gives proof that that it can happen. But the problem is that you get spiritually cut off. You don't think it can happen. If you don't believe in anything, then you can basically you're leaving yourself open for anything to come in.
That's a great way to put it, like spiritually cut off. Like, yeah, if you're an empty vessel, like you said, if say, Christian, you don't have Christ within your heart, you're an empty vessel, and you're
Why?
susceptible
Listen,
to.
I had an argument with a friend today about he had issues, and then, like, he talked about his son wanting to go to church. I'm like, "Well, you should go to church." And then I tried to talk to him about biblical things, and he gets real super defensive, all this other stuff.
Mhm.
I'm like, "Listen here, if your son tries to go to church and he, starts asking you these questions and you start getting this way, it's not gonna make your relationship any better. You're gonna have to listen to him because the house divided will fall, but a house united will stand."
Mhm.
And
Well, that right there is a spiritual battle within itself right
well, that's
there
what I'm saying.
too.
His son's having battles with depression. He's depressed. It's like I even told him, like, you should go to church, even if you don't believe it. Maybe one day someone will say something to you that will
Yeah,
get through.
absolutely.
You know what I'm
Plant the
saying?
seed,
Like,
yeah.
you're fighting a battle in which you can't win. And you're losing this battle because you don't have any help, and you won't listen to me.
Yeah.
When all you want to do is end up arguing, storming out because I get to the point where I almost can't listen. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
mean, and you fight that battle. So yes, I do believe what he's saying. I do believe every day the demons exist and they go. I just like, for instance, you guys remember where in like Vietnam they were testing out the night vision goggles, but they were using red,
Yes, I've heard this story.
and then the red filter they used was showing all kinds of demon, like the
Everything.
spiritual world, and that
Yeah.
these the army guys, army men,
The pilots.
not the pilots, but the operators and everything. They were shooting in the air. They were shooting at everything. They're going crazy because they didn't know what the heck they were
Right.
seeing.
It's almost like they could see into the spiritual
Yeah,
world.
because they had a different light spectrum. Even animals have different light spectrums. They can
Mhm.
see things that we can't. Dogs can smell things that we can't. Every animal, every person on this earth has a purpose. It's whether or not they choose to find it and use it. I mean, it's how it is. So I believe it. I believe it is possible.
It's
Sorry.
interesting.
So
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jorge.
I'm sorry. So what I was going to say is this, because I actually want to hear
Sorry.
what you guys think before I give you my answer. So, like, do you and Stephanie think that there actually could be black-eyed children, or what?
No, I don't. I do think that there are demonic entities out there. That is obvious. That's biblical as well. And I think that can come in all different ways, shapes, forms, obviously. I do think that once someone shares a story like that, every other person is going to have that same experience because it is kind of in our mind and we're thinking about it. I mean, I'm sure there was a couple people after James talked about his old hag in the room that a couple people that night after listening saw the hag too.
I hope
But
not.
I hope not either. But
She's terrible.
I know, I'm just saying, like,
Can't
your
even cook.
mind feeds and what you feed your mind will grow. And again, that's one of the things, like, with the demonic world, you can't play with that. Um, like, again, bringing horror movies into your home, you're just opening up yourself for that. Again, it goes back, if you're gonna be an empty vessel, this can happen.
Yep.
I will say, just to clarify on what you said, I don't necessarily think that going through a season of depression or dealing with that is opening yourself up to
No.
the demonic world, because I do think that you
Right.
can love Jesus with all your heart and still deal with depression and go through all that.
No, right.
But
I agree with
I
that.
think if you're not careful, it can take you on a path. So I would say, yes, I believe in the demonic world for sure, 1,000%. But I don't know that they're black-eyed children.
Well,
I think it just it just takes effect in different ways.
I'm just
I
trying to
really want to say something, Kyle, but let's hear James. Let's hear James, and then we'll go back to you.
I was just going to say that honestly, that I wasn't even. I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Just go ahead. I just forget I even going to say anything because once I forget it, I ain't going to worry about it no more.
So yeah, I'm really with Steph. I think demonic forces, spiritual attacks can take any form. Now, I think the question is why for these people they're attacked by a child with black eyes. That's the big question.
Mhm.
Like the old hag I dealt with. Why was I dealing with an old hag? Why are they dealing with two adolescent boys with black eyes
Sure.
trying to get in their home? I don't have the answer to that. What is interesting though is that there seems to be common types of, you want to call them demons, right? Whether that's hag, because you talked about Norwegian folklore,
Mhm.
or
Scandinavian, I believe.
Scandinavian folklore, or um this type of thing, any type of monster demon. But it's interesting how it can all have themes. But yeah, I think it's just spiritual attacks, and they're creative. They can come in many different
Yeah,
forms.
for sure.
And if you're vulnerable, then, and yeah, like if you watch a lot of horror films, or you really, you dip into Wiccan, or you kind of open up that door, I think things can seep in pretty quickly.
Yeah. All right. So my answer is that, yeah, I'm with you too. I think that the demonic are very much tricksters. They bend light. They can manifest themselves as something. Like, I think that the best example that I have is like the incident of the Exorcist movie. So in that movie, the demon possessed girl, does a full 360 with her head. Could that happen? No, because if the demon has to have a host, and so they know that if their host is dead, I mean, they want to stay with that host for as long as they can. So they're obviously not going to want to physically destroy the body, right? So the question is now, can they make you see that? Yes. I think that they can create the illusion that that is what you just saw. And I think it's the same thing with black-eyed children. I think that they can manifest themselves as a black-eyed kid or something else, and that's what you're going to like. You're actually going to see it, but is it really happening? Probably not. And so, um, I think what that just tells me is that, we are absolutely going through a spiritual battle every single day. Now, is it going to be something like that all the time? Maybe not. Does it happen? Yes, I believe it actually does. But I think that the spiritual battles that we might go through is like random arguments with your spouse that don't make sense, or just really weird bursts of anger, or maybe the seasons that you go through. I think that those are spiritual battles that we're more likely going to deal with. But I think that you have to be dealing with some pretty heavy things or allowing some pretty questionable things into your life in order for it to get that bad.
Or wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah,
If you're
for sure.
walking, in an alley at night, you probably shouldn't be to begin with. Or,
Right.
which we will have on a future podcast, by the way, some ghost stories,
Oh,
local ones. But if you're hanging out in a graveyard really late at night, you're probably going to get yourself into some trouble.
Yeah. Playing with Ouija boards, that's a big no-no.
Yeah.
That's just something that, I know a lot of people that might listen to this are gonna be like, "Okay, well, now you're kind of going over the top," and things like that, or maybe someone might have played it with a Ouija board and they've never experienced anything. Okay, sure, but you never know. Like, it could be your 5th, 6th time and you still haven't experienced anything, but maybe, like, that 7th, 8th time that you do something could happen. And I think that even you have some stories
Hmm.
Oh,
about that too.
I'm excited to tell those on a future episode. But if a black-eyed child or children come to my house and ask to use my phone, I'm gonna poke them right in the eyes. I'll say, "Your eyes look awfully dark." Poke.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Thankfully, we have Ring cameras now.
Yeah.
Oh, that would
I've
be
got-
so
Can I use your phone?
creepy.
Nope.
Oh my god.
Nope. Get off my property.
Yeah, at least I'll see the
Oof.
kids coming.
Well, yeah, but still, can
They're
you
like,
imagine?
"Can I have a cup of sugar?" I'm like, "I don't think so."
It's 3 a.m.
What do you need a cup of sugar for,
Please go
man?
back to bed.
You
Yeah,
guys
no.
come on in and have some tea. Let me read you some scripture.
I was trying to make 3 a.m. Kool-Aid.
I say, not on my watch.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Can you
I
imagine
know
that
you
all the
can
way
put in
back
your
here?
Kool-Aid holy
Oof.
water.
3 a.m.
Are you?
Kids coming
What are
to
you
your
trying
door?
to say?
I'm just saying.
Saying that I live in the boonies?
Well,
Kind of.
a little bit.
Thank you. I'll
Yeah,
take that as a
we're gonna-
compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't
Just saying,
don't
it would be weird.
don't come back here at 3 a.m. looking for a cup of sugar. It's not gonna happen.
There is a gas station story that it's still on the website. It's not a personal story of mine, but this one happened in 2012, so I think that one's pretty interesting. So a gas station attendant in Northeast Louisiana apparently had a terrifying encounter, which was it was in November of 2012. And the gas station was it was already creepy enough to begin with, and it was 3 a.m. So
The
there you
witching
go.
hours.
Yeah, witching hour,
Mhm.
and the power went out. And led by the light of his cell phone, the attendant was able to get the generators going, but the backup lighting was dim and only lit up certain areas,
Ugh.
like the cash area and the parking lot, while the rest of the isolated
Mm-mm.
establishment was cloaked in black.
Yeah, I'm going home.
And out in that darkness, he noticed the movement of 3 children on bikes who were heading in his direction.
Okay, I'm staying inside. That's
They stood at the door and stared at the attendant, which reasonably so, he felt creeped out. But they were just kids, and it was way too late for them to be out. He opened the door, asked if they were okay. Oh, interesting. And a young girl asked him to use a phone.
Mm-mm.
But as he handed his cell phone over to her, he realized that her eyes were all black.
Poke him.
And so she goes, "No, I need the real one." And she pointed at the landline inside.
Uh,
And so the thought of letting her inside sent chills up his spine. So he shouted at all of them to leave as he slammed and locked the door. But the children stood there a little bit longer, silently staring at him through the glass with their solid black eyes. Then they got back on their bikes and disappeared into the darkness. The next morning, the attendant was eager to go through the surveillance footage, and unfortunately, the power outage cut the cameras off and they didn't boot back up with the generator, so he had nothing
Surprise.
to prove about what took place. So that was actually the first one where I heard that there was a little girl involved.
Okay.
does it? It doesn't say what part of Louisiana.
No,
town or
it
anything?
just says Northeast Louisiana. Northern Louisiana.
Interesting.
Yeah, that would be a really scary experience if I was a gas station attendant
Yeah, don't
at
love that.
3 a.m.
I would quit my job.
Yeah.
I would quit.
I would have turned the close sign around.
Yep.
Hmm.
I'd be like, you know what?
I'd have sent him to boot camp.
I say, I'm calling the police.
That just sounds awful.
Okay, well,
Well, it is, but so do demon children. That
Yeah,
sounds
well, yeah,
really terrible,
you're.
too.
yeah.
it
Well,
makes
that's it. So that actually opens up another conversation too. So, I have also heard that it is very common for a spirit, or I'll just say demons, because I don't believe in ghosts. Sorry to everybody out there that believes in ghosts, but I don't. I think that there's angels and demons, and I think that and I've heard that it's actually very common for demons to manifest themselves as children, because if it's a child, a helpless child, you're probably going to be a lot more open to wanting to help a child out. But if they have black eyes, it's going to be a lot easier for me to not
Yeah.
want
So
to
take
do
those
that.
contacts out before we discuss.
You just ask him, hey, can I three stooge you first? Just make sure.
Yeah. Dunk.
Boop.
Well, I think we hit some pretty good conspiracies this time. I think Jorge's my favorite, though, even though I'm scared to death.
Yeah.
Well, the Rita Skeeter, I think I'd heard that before with J.K. Rowling. I think I'd heard that before, but I'd never heard it go into detail like you had given it. So that was interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. If
That's
you're a
fun.
fan of Harry Potter, it's pretty fun because her writing is very good, because I read all the books many times,
Mhm.
and it really, as you're reading, you feel like the characters are real, and it's kind of fun to think that the author is actually one of the characters and she wrote the book. So
Yeah.
it's good stuff.
So was Rita Skeeter like a real person?
No, she's a journalist in the Harry Potter series.
Oh, in the Harry Potter. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. But I do have a correction. So in one of whenever we were talking about Final Destination Bloodlines, I was referring back to one of the older movies, and I saw that the director was James Wong with a Wong. I got mixed up because the Conjuring movies were directed by James Wan, Wan.
Mm.
So I got mixed up there.
Oh,
So it was
pretty
James
similar.
Wan, not James Wong.
Mm.
Did anybody else have any other? Stephanie, did you already share your correction from?
I didn't. I think mine was just
Met friends.
a friend's. Ross was married 3 times. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
I think that was
Well, this has been episode 4 of Milkhouse Podcast. Thank you
Oh,
for listening.
Yeah, thanks.
it. Peace.
See you next week.